माइक ऑन कर दीजिए। Ready.
Here, I will sit here. Okay. So, I am extremely delighted to welcome you all on behalf of Indian Institute of Advanced Studies and Professor Pankaj Jain to this academic program. So, he was to make his presentation last month, but we all know that due to the sudden demise of his father, he left home. We know that his mother is alone there. Therefore, he could not make it. And, regarding his academic career, I understand that he has an illustrious academic career. At present, he is a professor in Flame University in the department. He is the head of humanities and languages. So, on obtaining his bachelor degree in computer science, he moved to USA and got employment as a software engineer. So his quest for knowledge did not permit him to continue that profession. He left that profession and he took his MA from Columbia University in religious studies. And he took a PhD from the University of Iowa, USA. And he joined associate professor in the Department of Philosophy and Religion and Anthropology at the University of North Texas, a very prestigious American university. And we find that he has left his indelible imprints in several areas, like, this sustainability, some substantial contribution, the Jain studies, film studies, and diaspora studies. So he has published a quite number of noteworthy books, and most important among them are, I understand he co-edited the Encyclopedia of Indian Religions, 2022 recently, and Indian and Western Philosophical Concepts in Religion. And his other works include Modern Jainism, a Historical Approach, 2023, Dharma in America, a Short History of Hindu-Jain Diaspora, and this award-winning work, Dharma and Ecology of Hindu Communities, Sustenance and Sustainability, published in 2011. And Science and Socio-Religious Revolution in India, Moving the Mountains, 2015. So his important articles have figured in the Huffington Post, then Washington Post, Times of India, Speaking Tree, and several other journals. He has contributed several articles. And he has earned a few awards. Professor Jains have been acknowledged with numerous awards, including the Fulbright Nehru Fulbright Nehru Fellowship for Environmental Leadership, the Venner Grant, and at present the IAS, the fellowship now, fellow. In addition, he was nominated for the Sustainability Leadership Award from Memnosin Institute. Yeah. His first book also garnered recognition with a couple of American awards. And in his social media, outreach also, he has made his presence very much. And in the, in several platforms, he has made his, presence very much, felt. So coming to his presentation today, I understand that it is on modern Jainism, right? Modern Jainism. And I understand that his disenchantment with the existing Western categories, methodologies, approaches in understanding Eastern sensibilities, especially, Eastern knowledge system, the gross inadequacy that exists in Western categories. Because in his academic pursuit, he realized this inadequacy very much. Because the instrumental rationality and the intellectual approach, this the base of the Western empiricism, so that it has its own built-in limitation in understanding Eastern philosophies, the teachings of great gurus. But we know that because of our inability over thousands of years, the Indians came to know of the greatness, glory of Vedas, Upanishads, etc. Indians came to know, or Indians recognized only when the Western scholars unearthed to the extent possible with their approach the wisdom embedded in our knowledge systems. Then only we also recognized, we came to understand, and these knowledge systems have that much or glory and depth. So therefore he says that when he this in his research in especially Jainism and this environmentalism that is very much rooted in Mahavir's teaching, when he started studying that, he is in the abstract it is given, it is mentioned how he confronted with the limitations of Western categories in getting into the depth of these wisdoms. Therefore, I think it should be an eye-opener to Indian academia, because Indian academia still go by West, because they are all fascinated by Western categories. Empirical, it is very easy also, very fascinating. We are totally cut off from that organic evolution of Indian knowledge system. Therefore, thousands years of gap is there. We are all nurtured in modern, rooted in modern, this framework. But I tell you, I don't take much time. I tell you that we have to have our research based on Indian knowledge, because the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, all these provide us rich platform to evolve methodologies in studying each and every area of knowledge. With these words, let me invite Professor Jain to make his presentation. No, there you can go. That would be better.
Thank you, Professor Pillai, for this generous introduction. And I've been away from the campus, but I've been listening to almost every presentation online. You must have seen my name there. So silently observing and learning so much from all of you. Luckily, I'm very comfortable with Hindi also, and so Hindi and English दोनों ही बहुत ही अच्छे से आपने लोगों ने जो कॉन्फ्रेंस में प्रेजेंट किए बहुत एनरिचिंग थे, बहुत अच्छे से प्रेजेंटेशन हुए सारे. तो आज भी मैं हिंदी इंग्लिश थोड़ी मिक्स करके बोलूंगा, शायद अच्छा रहेगा. मॉडर्न जैनिज्म, आधुनिक जैन धर्म. सो इस बुक या इस पूरे प्रोजेक्ट की शुरुआत तब हुई थी जब मेरे पिताजी वहाँ आए थे अमेरिका में करीब 3-4 साल पहले. तब उन्होंने कुछ नाम दिए मुझे, कुछ जैन संतों के, आचार्यों के, जो वेस्टर्न एकेडमिक लिटरेचर में अभी भी अवेलेबल नहीं है. दे स्टिल डोंट फाइंड देयर mention in Western academic literature on Jainism. So that's where this project started, and I applied for IAS fellowship back in 2019, but finally I got it this year after 4 years of wait. But even this year I could not fully enjoy the presence and participation that you all have been making here, but virtually I was there. All right, so modern Jainism. So if we look for modern Hinduism or modern Buddhism in any library or Amazon or any system, we will find many books: modern Christianity, modern Islam, modern Hinduism, modern Buddhism. But there is nothing available on modern Jainism. So that is where I thought I'll try to make some contribution by working on this topic of modern Jainism. This is a picture from where? Not from an Indian temple, but from a Jain temple in California. You may already know that there are more than 1,000 Hindu Jain temples across North America, more than 100 Jain temples, and more than 1,000 Hindu temples across North America, which is, when I first heard it, was a pleasant surprise. So Jains and Hindus have built these elaborate temples across North America. What Jains have additionally done in North America is to set up academic chairs across North America. There are several religion departments in North America now. So they've funded millions of dollars in these universities to start professorships in Jainism in North America. But when they set up these professorships, they're not limited. You cannot limit yourself to Jainism and ignore Hinduism and Buddhism. India is, especially Indian traditions, are so intertwined. There's so much give and take, especially in these three ancient traditions. So they end up, whoever is hired ends up teaching all these three traditions in a academic fashion. So that's what they've done. Jains in America, they have set up what Hindus have not yet done, to the best of my knowledge, is to combine and join all the different sects of Jainism, which was not possible in India. India में आज भी बटे हुए हैं. मैं शंकर जी को देख रहा हूँ, गुप्ता जी को देखता हूँ तो हिंदी याद आता है कि हिंदी बोलनी है. लेकिन जैन जो सेक्ट यहाँ पे हैं, संप्रदाय श्वेतांबर दिगंबर बटे हुए हैं. अमेरिका में पहली बार 40-50 साल पहले की बात है, एक नया एसोसिएशन स्टार्ट हुआ पे, जैना, JAINA, जो पहली बार इन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ जैनिज्म ऑफ लास्ट 3000 years of history, first these two sects came together and they are still united in North America. So that is something that Jains are still trying in India, not yet to succeed. So academic fly academic focus, not just in America, of course, but even in India. We don't even have religion department in India, right? We have philosophy, we have Sanskrit departments, but there is no religion department yet in India, I think, except Jamia Millia, where there is a religion department, comparative religion department. We don't have yet in India. I think it's urgently needed. BHU also, right? BHU and Jamia Millia, maybe a couple of more places. Religion? Okay. More and more needed, more and more needed. Yes.
Recently, because of this government started.
They start. Okay. So that's great. That's good news. Good news. Okay. Let's start. Right. So as Professor Pillai hinted, entire focus, I think not just me, probably everybody sitting here in this seminar room, especially, we're always struggling to challenge Western categories, Western knowledge, and coming up with our own framework, our own knowledge tradition, how to represent हमारी अपनी जो बातें हैं, हमारे अपने जो ज्ञान के जो सिद्धांत हैं, जो शब्द हैं, उनको हम किस तरह से वेस्ट के पास ले जाएं. उल्टा ना हो. अब तक तो उल्टा होता है, because of the colonialism and British Raj and so on. Everything has been translated, right? Word becomes caste, dharma becomes religion, and so on. You know, आप सब जानते हैं इस बात. लेकिन उसको, how to turn this table, how to turn the tables. That is my humble attempt here. So let's take a look at what is happening. This is coming from Suzanne Rudolph, an American political scientist. In 2005, she gave a lecture at the Association of Asian Studies in which she spoke almost our language. What did she say? She said that Western imperialism is not just socio-political, economic imperialism. It is intellectual academic imperialism. उपनिवेशवाद जो पश्चिम का है वो हमारे ज्ञान परंपराओं को भी तोड़ता है, उसको बंधक बना के रखता है. किस तरह से? मैक्स वेबर का एग्जांपल जैसे लें. मैक्स वेबर मेजर सोशियोलॉजिस्ट, फादर ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी उनको बोला जाता है. He said and he wrote that West is agentic, East is fatalist. ईस्ट तो बस किस्मत पे विश्वास करता है, भाग्यवादी है, कुछ एजेंसी है ही नहीं ईस्ट के पास, पूरब के पास. Talcott Parsons said, in West you get status by achievement, accomplishment. आपको कुछ करके दिखाना पड़ेगा तब आपको स्टेटस मिलेगा वेस्ट में. ईस्ट में तो क्या है, जन्म से मिलेगा, जाति से मिलेगा. वो हैवी स्टेरियोटाइप जो है उनकी बात में था. जॉन स्टुअर्ट मिल सेज वेस्ट इज अ मैच्योर सिविलाइजेशन, ईस्ट तो अभी बच्चा है, बचपना है ईस्ट का. तो इस तरह के heavy stereotypes, biases are still present as early as latest, even 2005, she's noticing that these are the categories that is still applied to Eastern tradition, civilization, including India and probably China and other civilizations. So if we look at environmental performance of India, for example, if we apply Western category, here is one example. So 2018 में this environmental performance index was released by Yale University. One of the top 5 American Ivy League universities comes up with this every year. They come up with environmental performance index. उसमें इंडिया का नंबर कहाँ था? 177 पे भारत था कि भारत पर्यावरण की दृष्टि से बिल्कुल निकृष्ट है, निम्न है और पर्यावरण का बिल्कुल की हालत बहुत खराब है. ये 177 पे रखा उन्होंने. टॉप किस में रखा? टॉप कंट्रीज में रखा उनको, यूरोपियन कंट्रीज को रखा, डेनमार्क, फिनलैंड, नॉर्वे, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. Now this I thought this is a heavy Western lens being forced on Indian environmental situations. To turn the table, I looked at similar but different American index also. This is coming from National Geographic magazine. When they came up with Green Dex or Green Index of environmental performance of major economies across the world, they counted India at number 1. India is the most environmentally sensitive country. This heavy difference between, एक तो 177 पे रख रहा है कि भारत का पर्यावरण बहुत खराब है, एक कह रहा है कि भारत सबसे हरा, सबसे ग्रीन, एनवायरमेंटली सेंसिटिव कंट्री. कैसे हुआ? उन्होंने क्या किया, नेशनल ज्योग्राफिक ने, फॉर सम गुड रीजंस, they looked at not just the pollution problems in AQI problems in our cities or water problems in our city, they looked at our lifestyle. In the lifestyle, what they measured, in the lifestyle, what they measured is how we live every day, how Indians live every day. In many, probably millions of Indian families, still 3 generations can live together under one single roof. Number 1. So many people, optimum utilization of resources. Number 1. Number 2, our food habits. Not everybody is pure vegetarian, but even those who are taking non-vegetarian dishes are taking it occasionally, not like Euro-American civilization where 3 times a day probably you need meat products. And meat is one of the major reasons for carbon footprint. So food habits, our residential or our housing dwelling sizes, our water consumption. Water bottles are rarely seen, are now being seen also on this table. I see one bottle, but water consumption is also very limited. We really value the paucity of our water resources. We don't have in our houses 24/7 hot water running in our taps. We still have, even if we have, maybe even in Shimla we do have, but then we have separate geyser for separate room. It's not centrally. There's a lot of wastage in centrally heating our water. Central air conditioner, central heating, central water heating, water heating for all these. So that causes major carbon footprint for Euro-American civilization that Yale University's index did not measure. They just looked at the pollution issues. So some of these things are to be looked at if you really want to understand environmental performance of major countries such as India. So India in this performance index, Green Dex by National Geographic, is greenest because of the food habits, water habits, commuting. Our commuting, even though we might own, everybody has many people are now owning their car, but for commuting, they will still prefer public transport. So that again reduces our carbon footprint. So carbon footprint, comparing major economies across the world, India comes up at the per capita lowest carbon footprint. It may be changing now because of everybody getting more and more car addicted and so on. But so far, we have done pretty good on these indexes. So this is what these are 2 charts. If you look at that slide there, left में जो ऊपर वाला जो slide है, उसमें meat consumption, what I just already summarized, meat consumption by selected country. So India का meat consumption as late as 2013 is still less than even Kenya, China, of course, UK, Canada, Brazil, and US. So that keeps our carbon footprint at one of the lowest per capita in the world, probably the lowest per capita in the world. Similarly, car density, per person car density, second graph, if you notice, passenger car density, Italy has the highest, India has the lowest. This is coming from 2009. A little bit older data, but still, I think, broadly speaking, still this holds true. Yeah, China has probably much more now. So because of these habits, our per capita carbon footprint remains very, very low compared to many other economies and many other civilizations in the world. So vegetarianism, minimalism. So minimalism is this new concept which is catching a little bit popularity in America, in which they want to live in smaller houses. They want to live with minimum resources. Now, this is catching now in America, but in India, there is long traditions of sannyas and aparigraha and so on, which are inspired by Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, all three. Because of those habits, again, even our millionaires, as late, if we speak of Marwadi millionaires, which I can speak more about, even if they had millions in their bank balances, their lifestyle was extremely simple. They would walk to their dukan or wherever they worked. So those things, minimalism was part of our tradition for thousands of years, which is now coming in America. So these things. So this is some of my similar work in which I noticed these dharmic ecological traditions of Vishnuis. I was the first one to translate the entire Vishnuit sacred text into English. That was part of my 2011 book, which is what I did. And for second book, I looked at HESCO and also Sikh traditions and their environmental activism. That was just that. And my previous book was to write a short history of Jains in America and how, which I little bit summarized a little bit already. These are some of the modern saints that I worked for Makers of Modern Jainism project, in which I think I'll summarize a little bit of these saints and how they influenced modern Jainism, which is now seen in India and now across the world. His name is first name, that first picture that you see there is Acharya Shanti Sagar. Acharya Shanti Sagar was born in about 100 years back. He was born in Belgaum. And okay, let me summarize first. So Jainism, probably everybody knows that there are two major sects of Jainism, Digambar and Shwetambar. What is the difference? Digambar tradition, Digambar sect mein, monks must live completely naked, right? Completely naked. There are no nuns because practical nudity is not possible practically, but monks must live completely naked. In Shwetambar, monks and nuns are both white clad, right? They wear white robes, white garments. But when Shanti Sagar was born in Belgaum about more than 100 years back, that Digambar tradition was completely lost, right? Because of Mughal Raj, because of the British Raj, it was not possible because it was not acceptable for the foreign sensibilities. So he single-handedly started practicing complete nakedness as Digambar tradition is supposed to be practiced. And he would go around Delhi and go around, prominent places such as Lal Killa or other places, and he would ask his followers to take his pictures and post across the society so that this tradition is revived again. So that was his major contribution, and so he single-handedly revived the Digambar naked tradition across India. Now you see many Digambar saints that are practicing that tradition. Okay, second picture on your screen is Kanji Swami. Kanji Swami is another interesting and controversial figure. He was born in Shwetambar tradition, Shwetambar sect, Sthanakvasi. So within Shwetambar, there is a subsect called Sthanakvasi, which is influenced by Islam, probably, because the founder was working for a Muslim emperor in Ahmedabad 500 years back. So he started this non-image worshipping tradition within Shwetambar sect of Jainism. I don't know if Hinduism has any similar sect where mandir, people don't go to mandir. Mandir जाते नहीं है, मूर्ति पूजा के खिलाफ हैं, जैसे ऐसे हिंदू हैं. आर्य समाज is a great example. ब्रह्म समाज, आर्य समाज, yes. तो similarly स्थानकवासी जो है जैन धर्म में, श्वेतांबरों में जो हैं, वो मूर्ति पूजा के खिलाफ थे. So he was born in Sthanakvasi, but he realizes that there's something wrong in their philosophy, so he quote unquote converts into Digambar sect and starts practicing Digambar and starts preaching Digambar philosophy. But he does not renounce his white robe. So white robe he still practices from Sthanakvasi, but his philosophy is Digambar. So he's a good transitional saint from Shwetambar to Digambar. Third one is Acharya Vidyanand. Acharya Vidyanand's contribution is to finally in 2008, when he passed away a couple of years back, but his major contribution, a little bit controversial, I guess, is that Jainism was never a separate official minority religion in Indian constitution, because Hindu Code Bill applied to Hindus, Jains, and Buddhists, and probably Sikhs also, right? Hindu Code Bill for marriages and for inheritance and so on. But in 2008, finally, because of his activism, Jainism is now officially accepted as a separate minority religion, right? So Hinduism, Buddhism, of course, Sikhism is officially a religion, but Jainism is also now a separate religion. That was one of his contributions. Okay, this is a nun called Acharya, Granini Gyanmati ji. She was born near Hastinapur, Meerut. A lot of people from UP are here, see here. They were born near Hastinapur, and he developed Hastinapur as a, Hastinapur we know as a Mahabharat city, right? Pandav Kaurav जहाँ रहे थे, जहाँ पे उनका राज्य था, and so on. But she single-handedly developed Hastinapur. If you go to Hastinapur today, you will see many Jain temples. Probably nothing from. It is now known as the city of Jains, not city of Mahabharat anymore. So that is his, she's still with us. That is her major contribution. Born as a female, where female cannot even achieve full acharyahood, acharya status in Digambar sect, but by her scholarly contributions, by her activism, she develops enough charisma and develops Hastinapur as a major Jain center now. Okay, this is Hastimal, Acharya Hastimal ji, also born in non-image worshipping sect of Shwetambar sect, Sthanakvasi subsect of Shwetambar sect, and his contribution was to write first major history of Jainism in Hindi for last 3,000 years. That was his contribution. Then Acharya Rajendra Suri, the next one. His contribution is to develop first encyclopedia of Jain philosophy, probably I might say even Indian philosophy, Indian culture, Indian philosophy in general, in Hindi, of course. So he takes each word, for example, Jeev, or Brahm, or Atma, right, or Punarjanam. Now, what are the references of each term across traditions, not just Jain tradition, but even Hindu traditions and Buddhist? So collects major manuscript across India. All these Jain acharyas cannot even ride a bicycle. ना ये साइकिल चला सकते हैं, ना गाड़ी में बैठ सकते हैं, ना बैलगाड़ी में बैठ सकते हैं, ना प्लेन में जा सकते हैं, पैदल चलना इनको, पैदल जा जाके मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट इकट्ठी करनी है, किताबें इकट्ठी करनी है, उनको संकलित करना है, उनका अनुवाद करना तो अनुवाद करना पड़ेगा. इस तरह से उन्होंने फर्स्ट एनसाइक्लोपीडिया डेवलप किया. आचार्य राजेंद्र सूरी, born in Bharatpur, Rajasthan, not too far from Fatehpur Sikri in UP, but passed away in Mohankheda near Indore. आप उज्जैन से बैठे, हाँ, तो इन मोहनखेड़ा में इनका मेजर सेंटर अभी आज मोहनखेड़ा में, आचार्य राजेंद्र सूरी. देन मुनि पुण्य विजय, इन्होंने भी इसी तरह का काम किया. आपको पता होगा शायद, जैन्स आर एट द फोर फ्रंट ऑफ सेविंग आवर एंशिएंट मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट्स. आपको आज भी सबसे पुरानी हिंदू मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट भी अगर चाहिए, बुद्धिस्ट मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट चाहिए, आपको जैसलमेर जाना पड़ेगा, आपको पाटन जाना पड़ेगा, जहाँ जैनों ने फंडिंग करके अपनी अच्छी बिल्डिंग्स बना के अलमारियों में अच्छी तरह से बंद करके मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट्स को रखा है. लेकिन वो मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट अच्छी तरह से ऑर्गेनाइज नहीं थी. आज हमारी मॉडर्न सेंसिबिलिटीज के लिए, if you want to use those manuscripts, we have to catalog them, right? We have to organize them, then we have to translate them. That he did. Last to these figures, Sagiranand Suri and Acharya and Muni Punya Vijay. These two monks again walking करके रहते थे अहमदाबाद में, ये दोनों गुजरात में रहते थे. गुजरात से जैसलमेर पैदल जाना है, भरी दोपहर में या जहाँ जैसा भी मौसम है, पैदल ही चलते थे. जैन में आज भी आपने देखा होगा सड़क पे पैदल, बहुत बार एक्सीडेंट भी होते हैं, उनकी डेथ भी हो जाती है कई बार, लेकिन पैदल चल के इन्होंने इतना महान जो काम किया, उसका कोई उल्लेख कहीं भी किसी स्पेशली वेस्टर्न लिटरेचर में नहीं था. तो इन 8 फिगर्स का मैंने संकलन करके, संपादन करके, ट्रांसलेट करके, इनकी बायोग्राफी वगैरह डेवलप की, इनके कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस को नोट करके अपने प्रोजेक्ट में इंक्लूड किया. तो ये आपको दिया. अब हम चलते हैं थोड़ा और डीपर जाते हैं कि जैन कॉस्मोलॉजी एग्जैक्टली है कि, ये अगेन हम इंग्लिश वर्ड यूज कर रहे हैं. जैन दर्शन में विश्व का स्वरूप क्या है? हिंदू स्वरूप में, हिंदू दर्शन में विश्व का स्वरूप क्या है? ब्रह्मांड है, राइट, जो एवर एक्सपैंडिंग है, जो भी मॉडर्न साइंस भी मानता है. जैनिज्म में क्या है? ऐसा नहीं है. जैन में थोड़ा अलग है. विश्व का स्वरूप इस तरह का है, थोड़ा अलग है हिंदू विश्व से, हिंदू ब्रह्मांड से अलग है. इसमें जैसे कोई मनुष्य इस तरह से खड़ा हो अगर, तो ऐसा शेप बनेगा. इस तरह का विश्व का स्वरूप है जैन धर्म में. ठीक है. सबसे ऊपर जो आप ऑरेंज एरिया देख रहे हैं, जहां साउथ लिखा है, वो माना जाता है मोक्ष शिला. वहां पे आत्मा के मोक्ष के बाद, आफ्टर द सोल गेट्स लिबरेशन, द सोल गेट्स ट्रांसफर्ड ऑटोमेटिकली टू द हाईएस्ट layer of the universe, highest floor of the, as if it's a मल्टी स्टोरीड बिल्डिंग, तो हाईएस्ट फ्लोर पे आपकी सोल हमेशा परमानेंटली रहेगी। हिंदू धर्म में क्या होता है, आपको अगर मोक्ष मिला तो आपकी आत्मा ब्रह्म में विलीन हो जाएगी, राइट, आप सब जानते हैं तो, राइट। यहाँ पे ऐसा कोई विलीन नहीं, कोई ब्रह्म है ही नहीं जैन धर्म में। जैन धर्म ब्रह्म को नहीं मानता है, यहाँ पे आत्मा को माना जाता है लेकिन ब्रह्म को नहीं माना जाता। दे बिलीव इन सोल बट नॉट इन ब्रह्मन। सो एवरी सोल इज सेपरेट एंड डिस्टिंक्ट एंड इंडिपेंडेंट फॉर एवर. Soul was never created, soul will never get destroyed, soul will remain permanently in this universe. After moksha, the soul will go to the highest abode, which I call as final frontier of the universe. वहां पे soul eternally रहेगी, सिद्धा, home of liberated beings. So, now that orange layer से लेके यहाँ तक, ये इसको अर्थ माना जाता है, जो सेंट्रल रीजन है वो अर्थ है, वहां आज हम सब बैठे हैं जैसे. सो दिस इज पृथ्वी लोक. पृथ्वी पे सारे जीव और सारे इंसान, सारे और पेड़ पौधे वगैरह सब पृथ्वी पे. पृथ्वी और सिद्ध लोक के बीच में स्वर्ग को माना जाता है. 7 या 8 या कुछ लेयर्स हैं, हमने 8 हेवंस, 8 स्वर्ग की लेयर्स हैं. डिपेंडिंग ऑन योर पुण्य कर्म you will go to appropriate level of heaven. Then below the earth are 7 hells. Depending on your dushkarma, your paap, you will go to hell. So heaven hell का concept थोड़ा similar है हिंदू धर्म से, लेकिन थोड़ा अलग भी है. पृथ्वी के नीचे नरक को माना है यहाँ पे. हिंदू धर्म में तो पुराणों में शायद इस तरह का वर्णन है, नीचे ही माना गया, नीचे, हाँ, और स्वर्ग को ऊपर माना.
Within earth is the patal.
Within earth is the patal.
7 or 8 patal.
Right. So ये थोड़ा सिमिलर है, थोड़ा डिफरेंट है जैन धर्म में. ये मुझे लगा थोड़ा आपको मैं शेयर कर दूं. तो हाँ, तो लेकिन इसमें कहा यह गया है कि ये जो शेप आपको दिख रहा है, किस तरह का शेप इसको कहेंगे, जैसे कोई मनुष्य खड़ा है ऐसे हाथ यहाँ रख के, राइट, इस शेप के बाहर कोई सोल नहीं रह सकती. एवरी सोल परमानेंटली फॉर एवर एड इन्फिनिटम, अनंत काल तक वो सोल इस ब्रह्मांड, इस विश्व में हमेशा के लिए रहेगी, इस लोक में. लोक इज द वर्ड इन जैन धर्म. तो लोक में ये पर आत्माएं हमेशा की रहेगी, कभी आत्मा मरेगी नहीं, आत्मा कभी मर्ज नहीं होगी ब्रह्मन के साथ. ब्रह्मन है ही नहीं, ब्रह्म है ही नहीं, ठीक है. तो इस लोक के बाहर जो है उसको अलोक कहा है. तो यूनिवर्स एंड नॉन यूनिवर्स का इमेजिनेशन जैन धर्म में किया गया करीब 3000 साल पहले, जो आज मॉडर्न साइंस भी मानता है, यूनिवर्स एंड नॉन यूनिवर्स. बट देयर इज ओनली सिंगल यूनिवर्स. Now I think there is talk of multiple universes in modern science, which is not present in Jainism. So I thought I'll share a little bit of that. Okay, आत्मा का स्वरूप काफी सिमिलर है हिंदू और जैन धर्म में. कॉन्शियसनेस, चैतन्य को माना गया है, एनर्जी, ऊर्जा या वीर्य को माना गया है, और आनंद. आत्मा का स्वरूप काफी सच्चिदानंद से काफी मिलता जुलता है, ठीक है. कर्म का सिद्धांत एकदम सेम है, बिल्कुल सेम है, लेकिन कर्म का भी सिद्धांत थोड़ा अलग है जैन धर्म में. क्या अलग है? यहाँ पे कर्म को एक डस्ट पार्टिकल की तरह इमेजिन किया गया, एज इफ धूल का कोई कण जैसे लग गया है आपके दर्पण पे, तो कैसे दर्पण अशुद्ध हो जाएगा, वैसे सोल आपका एक प्योर, अगर इफ इट इज अ प्योर मिरर, द डस्ट पार्टिकल विल गेट अटैच्ड टू द मिरर एंड इट पोल्यूट्स योर सोल. For moksha, your soul must be absolutely crystal clear, no particle at all. How do you remove those particles? By penance, by meditation, by fasting. Fasting is taken to the ultimate level in Jainism. As you might have heard, my own cousins, even today, kids born in 21st century, 18 years of age, 19 years of age, they're practicing fast for 2 weeks. Not a drop of water for 2 weeks. Just finished. You don't smile.
No,
but they're still doing
Samsara.
They're still doing Santhara. Santhara is another thing. That they give up their body by Santhara, by not taking, so yeah, many people still doing it. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Now, vegetarianism, very, very highly practiced in Jainism, right? Why Jains, what is their philosophical argument in practicing vegetarianism? Shakahar क्यों है जैन धर्म में? उसका उन्होंने 5 all the souls in the universe inside the lok, they categorize into 5 different categories. How? Humans, let's look at the last point first. So humans are equal to mammals, are equal to reptiles, are equal to birds, and are equal to gods in Swarglok, and demons in Narklok. They're all equal. So for human survival, if you are forced, or if you are supposed to kill a mammal or a reptile or a bird, that would accrue exact same paap level as killing a human being. Right? So nar hatya ke barabar ho gaya jeev hatya from this perspective. Because they all have 5 senses: touch, taste, smell, see, and hear. They're sentient beings and non-sentient beings. They have 5 senses. Okay? Then there are 4 senses: butterflies, flies, and bees. There are 3 senses: insects and spiders. 2 senses: worms, leeches, and oysters and snails. And finally, 1 sense only: earth. Earth is imagined as living being in Jainism. Water is a living being, fire is a living being, first वाला दिखा रहा हूँ आपको मैं, air is also a living being, Nigoda is a living being, and plants are living beings. So for human survival, Jainism says you can consume only one sense beings, that is minimal of earth, minimal of air, minimal of water, minimal of fire, and minimal of plants. So not all plants are to be consumed by Jains, right? Not no potato, no onion, no garlic, as probably you already know. Why? Because they are all root vegetables. If you eat a potato or onion or garlic, you're killing an entire plant, which is violence. So that would accrue additional dust particles on your soul. तो कम करना है, कैसे कैसे कम करना है, उसको कैसे मिनिमाइज करना है. Even जो, let's say palak is allowed for Jains to be eaten, but that palak or any food you cannot eat after sunset. After sunset, additional karma particles will get attached to your soul. Then every Jain is supposed to do fasting in, Jain definition of celebration is to starve, is to fast, right? So whenever there's Ganesh Chaturthi, you must remember that exact day when Ganpati, our favorite deity, is being fed so many modaks. Thousands of Jains, lakhs of Jains are fasting. So fasting and modak go hand in hand same day, every year. Ganpati and हम लोग मोदक खा रहे हैं. I consider myself Hindu and Jain. My mother is a Hindu, my father is Jain. So एक हाथ से मोदक खाना है, एक हाथ से फास्ट कर कैसे करना होता है. So that is the amazing diversity and contrast that we have in Indian tradition. All right, so that was the philosophical argument. Okay, then Jainism, especially in the West, in America, Jains like to portray their tradition as a tradition of triple A, teen A. ठीक है सर. अहिंसा, अपरिग्रह एंड अनेकांतवाद. अहिंसा की तो बात हमने बहुत सारी कर ली. अपरिग्रह की बात, संन्यास का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, आज भी बहुत सारे करोड़पति, लखपति जैन जो है, दे टेक प्राइड इन, at one point of time they will just literally throw their diamonds away on the streets and they will become, overnight they will become a monk or a nun. Even today it's happening at a massive level. Then Anekantvad, amazing philosophy. Anekantvad, I'm sure you already know this. Elephant and 6 blind men trying to touch different parts of elephant and trying to figure out what elephant is. You all know that, right? So I won't. Yeah, so that's Anekantvad, also comes from Jainism. Professor Arvind Sharma in Canada at McGill University summarizes Anekantvad in a very beautiful line. It's a plurality of reality. In Hinduism, there is Advait, right? One single reality. Brahman is ultimate reality. In Jainism, there is plurality of Brahman. There is not just one Brahman. Every soul is potentially Brahman. So there is plurality of reality. That is the ultimate reality of plurality. This plurality that exists in the universe is what is final reality. So that is the summary of Anekantvad in the last line.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry? Syadvad is part of Anekantvad in a way. Yes, definitely. Yes. Syadvad, Anekantvad, exactly. Then Jainism also likes, Jains in America especially like to portray their tradition with 4 M's. That Mahavir single-handedly emphasized non-violence and aparigraha at a massive level. Mahavir in turn inspired Mahatma Gandhi, the second M. Mahatma Gandhi then inspired Martin Luther King, who came to Mumbai and saw Mani Bhavan in Mumbai and then took this idea of non-violence to America, and then civil rights movement started in America and changed America for good, in a good way. And then 4th M is Mandela. Nelson Mandela also took inspiration from Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi's guru was Srimad Rajchandra, a Jain guru in Gujarat. Gandhi, inspired by Srimad Rajchandra, I think his picture, yeah, that's Srimad Rajchandra, the guru of Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi and Srimad Rajchandra exchanged letters in Gujarati language for 6 years. When Gandhiji was in South Africa, he had a lot of questions. Muslims and Christians pressurized Gandhi to convert to Islam or Christianity. Gandhi was confused. Gandhi wrote letters to Srimad Rajchandra, and Srimad Rajchandra convinced him and told him the greatness of Indian tradition, including Jainism. And so, yeah, so that's Srimad Rajchandra.
Mother was also a Jain.
No, not of
Gandhi's mother.
She was influenced, but not officially. They were Vaishnava Banyas. Okay, so Gandhi's life, of course, not just from Jainism, but across Indian tradition, he took these ideas, Satya and Ahimsa, Aparigraha, Brahmacharya, and so on, austerities and so on. In his life, we see glimpses of an ecological treatise. In a way, his meal was small meals he would take. He would practice Maun Vrat. He would go walking, almost like a Jain monk. Everywhere he went by walking. Cultivation of the small with big, right? Even a small goat was important for him, not just national issue that he was discussing. He made his own cloth. So Purusharth and self-reliance, Charkha was not just a slogan for him, it was a practice. And abhorrence of waste. Even a small piece of pencil, if his son lost, he would be not happy, and so no wastage. So Srimad Rajana covered. Then let me know time kitna hai. I'll stop. Yeah. Okay. All right. So okay. Now Jain Tirthankaras are the role models, ultimate role models for Jains across the last 3,000 years. So there are 24 Jain Tirthankaras. Last one was Mahavir. So let's start here. Mahavir was contemporary of the Buddha, but Jains like to say that Mahavir was a little earlier than Buddha. But probably Western scholars would say they were largely contemporary. Right? But Mahavir ke pehle Parshnath the. Parshnath looks somewhat similar to, I think, our Shiva in Hindu dharma, where he's surrounded by cobra, right, that snake head. And so snakes and Parshnath go hand in hand. In fact, he becomes a monk when somebody, this might be a little controversial, but some Brahmins, when they're burning a snake, Parshnath is filled with his pity and compassion, and he he becomes an ascetic. So that's what is the inspiration. Then before Parshnath is Neminath. Neminath, Jains like to say that Neminath was a cousin of Sri Krishna. So maybe Mahabharata. We don't have historical evidence, but that's what Jain traditions have been saying. So Neminath also, when his wedding party is going on, and thousands of animals are being slaughtered. So Neminath is again filled with pity and compassion, and he says, if anything that inspires animal slaughter, I would, instead of wedding, he becomes a monk, and then he attains moksha and becomes a Tirthankar. So that's Neminath. Parshnath, I already mentioned, so he is filled with compassion for snake. Mahavir also. Mahavir, when he is passing away, he passed away on Diwali night. So again, like Ganesh Chaturthi, I said, Diwali पे हम सब जब दीप जला रहे हैं, पटाखे फोड़ रहे हैं, मिठाइयाँ खा रहे हैं, तब जैन celebrate कर रहे हैं महावीर का मोक्ष. So again, very simplistic way Jains are supposed to be celebrating Diwali, but largely because of Hindu culture influence, they also enjoy Diwali like Hindus do. But so Mahavir, when he's passing away just on the Diwali night, probably Choti Diwali, last night, last day of Mahavir's life, he sends his most favorite disciple away from him because somewhere somebody is killing a cow. So Mahavir says, no, तेरा आदर मेरे लिए यहाँ पे जरूरी नहीं, मुझे तू जाके पहले उस गाय को बचा. And also because that favorite disciple was very personally attached to Mahavir, that was stopping his own moksha, Gautam Swami. So Gautam Swami, as he goes away, he attains moksha after Mahavir's death. He's filled with sorrow and sadness, but he ultimately attains his own moksha after Mahavir passes away. So those are some prominent Tirthankars I thought I will also mention here. Tirthankar in Western literature now is translated as ford maker, very bad translation. Tirth is a very sacred term for people in India. Tirth, काशी एंड उज्जैन के हमारे सर बैठे हैं यहाँ पे. तो तीर्थ वो जगह है जहाँ पे तीर्थ बनता है, जहाँ पे इस लोक से हम परलोक जाने का एक तरह से रास्ता है, राइट, या मोक्ष का रास्ता है. तो जो तीर्थ बनाता है उसको तीर्थंकर कहा जाता है जैन धर्म. बहुत सुंदर ये शब्द आई थिंक है. तीर्थंकर जो हिंदू धर्म में उतना प्रयुक्त नहीं होता, लेकिन जैन धर्म खड़ा ही तीर्थंकर शब्द पे है. जैन धर्म का सिद्धांत की आधारशिला तीर्थंकर पे है. तो ये मेजर जो मुख्य तीर्थंकर, 3 जो आखिरी तीर्थंकर हुए वो मैंने बता दिया आपको. अच्छा, महावीर के बाद तीर्थंकर कब आएगा? इस जैनों ने क्या किया, पूरे जिस तरह से मैंने कहा आत्मा अमर है, आत्मा का उदय, आत्मा का जन्म और मृत्यु नहीं होती जैसे हिंदू धर्म में भी नहीं होती, तो इसी तरह से समय का जो काल चक्र है वो भी अनंत है जैन धर्म में. किसी ने समय की रचना नहीं की, किसी ने सृष्टि की रचना नहीं की. सृष्टिकर्ता को जैन नहीं मानते. कुछ हिंदू पुराणों में स्पेशली आई थिंक विष्णु या ब्रह्मा को सृष्टि का निर्माता मानते. जैनों में ऐसा नहीं है. इसी तरह से समय भी अनंत है. टाइम इज बिगिनिंगलेस एंड एंडलेस, राइट. तो टाइम का उन्होंने क्या किया, 2 भाग किए. टाइम एकदम जैसे सतयुग से कलयुग हुआ है हिंदू धर्म में, वैसे जैनों में क्या हुआ है, सुषम काल से दुष्म काल होता है. अच्छे टाइम से खराब टाइम हो रहा है. तो महावीर वॉज द लास्ट मेजर फिगर. उसके बाद एक्सट्रीम कलयुग में हम जी रहे हैं, और इससे भी ज्यादा खराब टाइम आने वाला है अकॉर्डिंग टू जैन फिलोसफी. फिर जब एक्सट्रीम पूरा का पूरा ब्लैक टाइम हो जाएगा जैसे इन अ वे, देन अगेन द टाइम की जो मोड है वापस पॉजिटिव की तरफ जाएगा, दुष्म से सुषम की तरफ जाएगा. ये सब टेक्निकल टर्म जैन टर्म है, दुष्म सुषम ये सब. तो दुष्म से स्लोली वापस सुषम की तरफ जाएगा, तब फिर वापस नए तीर्थंकर आएंगे. तो एवरी टाइम साइकिल हैज फिक्स्ड 24 तीर्थंकर्स ओनली, एवरी वन टाइम साइकिल में, जो मिलियंस एंड मिलियंस ऑफ ईयर्स का होगा. अगेन कंपेरेबल टू सतयुग एंड कलयुग. प्रॉब्ली इन सम हिंदू फिलोसफी आई थिंक अगेन कलयुग गोज टू सतयुग, द्वापर, त्रेता, कलयुग. हाँ, तो वो साइकिल चलता है. इसी तरह यहाँ भी इस तरह से चलता रहता है. ठीक है, ओके. नाउ इकोलॉजिकल examples in Jain text, if you notice other texts में क्या लिखा है, souls render services to one another, parasparo graho jivanam. that interconnectedness, interdependence was highlighted in Jain text. How should we live in this world? We should learn from behavior of the beast. This is in the English translation, of course, but coming from in Prakrit language from Jain text. मधुमक्खियां कैसे रहती है या मधुमक्खियां कैसे रहती है हमारे बागों में कैसे रहती है? वो परागकण लेती हैं लेकिन फूल का नुकसान नहीं करती, फूल को नष्ट नहीं करती. तो उतना ही परागकण लेना है और फिर शहद बनाना है. इसी तरह से हमको प्रकृति से उतना ही लेना है, प्रकृति को नष्ट किए बिना वैसे रहना. ये है. फॉरेस्ट आर लाइक सेंट्स, वी हैव टू प्लांट ट्रीज फॉर गुड कर्मा. ये बात लिखी गई 2500 साल पहले जैन टेक्स्ट में, जो आज हम सब मान रहे कि पेड़ लगाना चाहिए वगैरह वगैरह. ये सब जैनों में आ रहा है. अच्छा, जैन हाउस होल्डर्स क्या कर रहे हैं? तीर्थंकरों के तो उदाहरण देख लिए हमने. अब हाउस होल्डर्स, पीपल, कॉमन पीपल, जैन ले पीपल. So even today, I think you will rarely find a Jain householder doing anything to. Let's look at the right column. Even today, you won't find a Jain householder selling charcoal or timber or pulling animals in an animal cart, or trading of alcohol, slave trading, weapons trading, poison trading, sugarcane trading, seeds trading, firearm trading, or construction of lakes. All these are considered as violent actions, violent professions and careers. तो जैन लोग वो सब काम नहीं करेंगे. वो क्या करेंगे ज़्यादातर? They will be doing trading. Even today, I think mostly you'll see Jains doing trading, banking, commercial activities, clerical activities, diamonds trading, traditional medicines, arts and crafts, working for the government or ruler, or manufacturing textile machines, publishing in media and education. This has been a tradition of Jain householders for centuries, for many centuries. All right. Jain settlers in America, they have adopted going green, cutting down their fossil fuel carbon footprint in a major way in many Jain temples across North America. This was comparing with Western philosophers. I don't think we have time, so I'll probably skip this, Brian, because I'll take questions and we can discuss more. These are comparing Jain philosophy with Thomas Berry and David Abram and Brian Swim is these two slides. The Srimad Rachana I already covered, Gandhi I already covered. That's it, I think. Yeah, I think I'll stop here. And if there are questions.
If it is finished according to your satisfaction, then it is well and good.
I think
it is left to him. No, it is left to him. Winding up is
fine. Quickly, I'll quickly summarize this also. So Brian Swim's cosmology, major Western philosopher, environmental philosopher, says, coming from Western philosopher, it's very interesting. He says that material objects, भौतिकवाद, consumerism के ऊपर जाता है. Consumerism से हमको depression होता है. If we don't get latest iPhone, chances are we are comparing with our neighbor or friend and we get a little bit of depression. Right? Material objects say consumerism for depression. Saying a Western philosopher. Jain and Hindu and Buddhist Aparigraha has been saying this for thousands of years. That don't get attached to bhautikvad. Right? ये बात इसमें आ रही है. Then second, Western philosopher is saying Earth is alive in response to our presence. ये बात हम तो धरती माता को कब से मानते हैं. बस इसी तरह से जैनों ने भी अर्थ को अलाइव माना. Then he says, because Western science says Big Bang theory probably created the universe. If one single event in the universe, then we all are siblings. All the beings on this planet are siblings. सब भाई बहन हुए, सारी की सारी प्रजातियां हम एक दूसरे से जुड़े हैं क्योंकि हम सबका जन्म का क्षण एक है. ये saying Brian Swim. That matches with Jain respect jivas, ahimsa, and so on. Okay. Then Thomas Berry says, world is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. So किसी को object मत मानो, सब में agency है. Even a chair should be treated with respect. Right? It has its own agency. That matches with Jain view of soul in all beings. सब में आत्मा को देखो. अग्नि में आत्मा है, वायु में आत्मा है, धरती में आत्मा है, and so on. Then Abram says, diversity of local forms, that matches with Jain insistence of changing lifestyle. Mahavir for changing the minds, not force the change from top, but inspire them to change from their own heart. And trees are inherently valuable for beauty and strength. And then David Abram says that senses are also important, not just for spiritual, even for spiritual upliftment, you need body and senses to progress in your spirituality, which matches with empiricism in Tatvar Sutra by Uma Swati. That's a major Jain philosopher. First major book written in Sanskrit. Most Jain texts are in Prakrit language. बट फर्स्ट मेजर संस्कृत का इन्फ्लुएंस इतना ज्यादा था प्रभाव कि जैनों को भी संस्कृत उठानी पड़ी और फिर ये ग्रंथ लिखा गया था तत्वार सूत्र जो करीब 2000 साल पहले लिखा गया था जो कि उमा स्वाति ने लिखा था. सो विद दैट आई थिंक आई विल स्टॉप हियर एंड एंड देन टेक योर इफ एनी क्वेश्चंस. यस.
Thank you, Professor Jain. So, going by your presentation, because we find that Siddharth ji,
सिद्धार्थ आपको बुलाया जा रहा है.
yeah. So your observation, I need in the beginning your observation. 2 minutes you give me 2 minutes. I will finish some observation. Then please sit. Okay. So
Here, man.
that I am a very smart. So going by, we know that all the gurus, acharyas, prophets, all these luminaries, according to the level of their attainment, spiritual attainment, they express their teachings. Main point is that according to time and climate, it is more important. Why Muhammad's teaching? If you analyze Muhammad's teaching, Christ's teaching, so then coming to Buddha and Mahavir at a particular point of Indian history. So these are all, there are inner commonalities, tremendous inner commonalities. But these differences, they are compelled to make because of the time and space compulsions. One thing. Another thing, one more observation. So I don't make any comment on this because the most important, contribution of Mahavir among lot, this Anegantavada. You have your own perspective because reality has the multiplicity of perspectives. That's the greatest, contribution to live in this plural society and in this society, characterized by all the diversities. Anegantavada. I think that some of you may not be aware of Anegantavada, but you can ask him because therefore his perspective he has presented. If I contest, there may have several issues and several points which I may be able to contest. But going by Anegantavada, I respect his presentation. It's very rich presentation. He has illuminated the core of Jain's teachings, especially in the context, certain other context. Thank you. Please, I request our, Siddharth Sarkari to make an observation because he is very busy with this. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Professor Jain gave me an eye-opener. A comment is what, I would begin with a comment. And then would lead perhaps a question that I would like you to think about. If I would like to learn more about it. I love the way in which were the last slides where we brought the drawing categories and categories of the dialogue reaching. The effort, I think, was to find a kind of a normative equivalence or a kind of a translatable categories. So I would like to think back to the observations when you began with. Are there categories where they're not, which are not translatables and not equivalents? If so, what would be an example?
Yes, I think that question should be in all our minds. I think immediately the word that comes to my mind right now at your question is, many times in English, we also probably make this mistake. We translate moksha to call it salvation. So different, totally different. You have to be very careful not to do that, right? Moksha is moksha. Even nirvana is different from moksha. And definitely not salvation. So that's one example. But I think that probably one solution, if I may suggest, is to many of our Indian terms are now part of Oxford Dictionary. Oxford English Dictionary. Dharma is a proper Oxford English Dictionary word, karma also. But even we probably, when we write in English, we end up using, sometimes by mistake, we use the word religion for dharma. That's a big mistake. If we are not aware, how will the native English speakers, be not aware? So such are the tensions. In translation, these, like I heard in the conference, we are all translators, if you like it or not. You're always making connections and missionaries, right? That's the word used. we have to be very careful, I think, when we translate and when we replace Indian terms with English terms. We're very careful. We have to, right?
Hello.
Yeah.
Two more hands.
Can I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Please, please.
I have I'll quickly go through my comments. Maybe it helps you and the listeners. The first thing you mentioned is that there is a very great difference between the West and the East in the approach to knowledge systems. And that's very obvious because in our system, we have intuition, which is not there, which is not acceptable in the Western systems. So we have intuition, and the Western closest thing is pure reason. They can't give pure reason. And second thing, liberation is when you talked about Hinduism, your liberation system is very much like Vaishnavas, where the soul does not merge into the Brahman, but is always in the vicinity of Krishna and adoring it. They do not seek liberation like the Advaitins. And then Anekantvad, you very beautifully explained plurality of reality, but Syadvad is slightly different. Syadvad, is very beautifully explained in certain Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka temples, where, one bull and one elephant, they are standing in juxtaposition. You can see on the net that picture of the temple. And when you look at the bull, the trunk will appear like a horn. And when you look at the elephant, so it is.
I showed that elephant in Six Blind.
Okay. No, not Six Blind Men. It's the face. So here it is the difference in the perception of the same object. That is the Syadvad. It's slightly different from Anekantvad. Anekantvad, as you said, Arvind Sharma has said, plurality of reality. And about earth is living for Hindus also. It's the mother. And all the Havishyas are given like all the gods to earth also. That is the Pushan.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Jain, it's very interesting that Jain Puranas, they show Rama and Krishna in hell. They are not in, heaven, or they are liberated or God, but they are the criminals who are condemned to Jain Puranic hells.
Krishna especially.
Yeah, Rama also, both.
Krishna
And they have described which hell.
a lot of
Yeah.
violence.
So these are the points I just wanted to make. That's all.
No, please let him.
Yeah, Anekantvad and Syadvad, they go hand in hand. Syadvad is sometimes crudely translated as maybeism or skepticism, right? It's that maybe it is that way, maybe this is the table, maybe from one perspective this is stable, maybe from other perspective. Linguistically, I can say that I table the motion in the parliament. I will use the word table to present my bill, right? I table a bill. At that time, table is not table, right? From quantum perspective, this table is a dance of energy, right? Quantum energy is inside every particle. But from materialistic perspective, this is a table where I can make a sound, and yeah. So this is how Anekantvad combines Syadvad to describe the reality. Yes.
Well, I'm Dr. Ramanathan from Chennai, Tamil Nadu. So the presentation was excellent, sir. And I would like to ask you, given the rapid advancement of medical technologies, how does the Jain community interpret and practice the ancient ritual of Salakhana, this voluntary passing into death in contemporary times?
Yes, Salekhna is the word used by Digambars. Santhara is the word used by Shvetambars. Both point to the same thing, that you give up your body. See, ultimate Jain goal is to bring down our carbon footprint and karmic footprint to absolutely zero. If carbon footprint is zero by anybody, his or her karmic footprint will also be zero. Karmic footprint means that karma's imprint on the soul must be shunya, zero, completely gone. To that end, they are trying to always reduce their needs, of course, greed, but also needs. Biggest need that we all have is food and water. So as death is approaching, as if you can foresee your death, if anybody can foresee his or her death, in the last few days, they tend to give up absolutely everything, right? Not just attachments to relatives or whatever, but even food, even water. And the whole focus is on meditation. And here there is no Krishna. There is only soul. There is nothing to depend on. You depend on your own karma, your own soul. There is, unlike Vaishnavism, there is no soul. Each soul will remain separate even after moksha. So only thing to depend is self-effort, right? Purusharth. Purusharth taken to ultimate level here. There is no Krishna here, there is no Ram, there is no Brahma, nothing. There is no Brahma, Shiva, nothing. Only your soul. And to make soul absolutely pure, you must bring your footprints, both carbon footprint and karmic footprint, to absolutely zero. For that, Sallekhan and Samthara are used as ultimate tool in the final days of your life.
When the death is fixed,
When death
you
is,
believe.
you can foresee your death.
Acha.
Yes.
You believe in the,
Yes,
that
yes,
it's
yes,
fixed.
yes, yes.
Time of death is fixed.
No, it's not. You can sort of guess that let's say you have 80 plus of years of age, and you have been living, you can sense your final days are nearby. So why to indulge in worldly activities now? Let's just focus only on meditation, only on upliftment of your soul, making your soul even pure. And how do you make it pure? By, again, bringing your footprints to absolutely zero. Carbon footprint and karmic footprint, both. Yes. I think she had her.
There was a lot of, yeah, but familiar new to them. Oh, Shmiti,
No.
you
Yes.
were talking. Is there also a head?
Yes. Yes.
What is the name?
Yes. I'll mention.
That's some kind of clarity or kind of concept of head. Because head
Yes.
is
Yes.
somewhere,
Yes.
something. And the second question.
Same as Hindu.
Majority of the soul and all of that, then where does the reincarnation?
Right. So quickly, rebirth or reincarnation or punarjanam or transmigration is exactly similar to Hinduism and Buddhism. That's done. Then yes, it is similar to, in a way, Christian steps of heavens and steps of hell. That's very similar, yes. But Swarg and moksha are very different. I think it's even in Hindu philosophy, moksha is not Swarg. Right? Swarg is a sort of a temporary reward for your good karma. But as your reward, it's like bank balance, credit and debit. As your credit goes away, as you use up your credit, you will be thrown back to earth. Again, you have to strive for moksha. And only by making your soul absolutely clean. Clean in the sense, no punya and no pap. Even positive karma, punya, will stop your moksha. They can only lead you up to swarg, but not moksha. For moksha, your bank balance, your karma balance absolutely must be zero. No positive, no negative.
And hell and heaven in
Huh.
Semitic faiths,
Yes.
they are eternal. They are eternal.
Right.
You never come
Eternal
out
hell.
of that.
Yes.
Here, ours
Correct.
is not,
Correct.
that is not the finality
Yes,
of a soul.
yes. Absolutely true. Yes.
Namaskar, Professor Jain. That was an amazing presentation. I really loved it. Just two questions and two observations. So the word jinn is there in Rigved. The 24 Tirthankars were Kshatriyas.
Mhm.
They had, training in Upanishads and the Vedas. You just said that, in the modern Jainism, now it is a different religion altogether.
Mhm.
But did any of the Tirthankars ever say that they are actually establishing a different religion? Number one, that's one question. Any reference of snake burning anywhere in Hinduism, Hindu texts? Second question. Third observation, when we talk about heaven and hell, the Vedas start with multiplicity and they end in non-dualism. Likewise, initially in Rigved, Yajurved and Samved, they talk about heaven and hell. When they go to Atharva Ved and Upanishads, the Vedanta, they say that heaven and hell is not something outside, it is something which is within. And that is how they, conclude the concept of heaven and hell. Also, when you said that Brahma and Jeev in Hinduism, Jeev becomes Brahman. No, Jiva is always the Brahman. So, in Vedanta and also in Atharva Ved, it is said that Jiva is never in bondage. It is only due to avidya that it
Yeah.
feels it is in bondage.
Self-realization.
Yes. So, the sthiti of moksha in Vedanta or, Atharva Ved is that you realize your true self of being the Brahman.
Yes.
So, these were the two observations. The last one about heaven, hell, and Brahman, and 2 questions.
I lost. So you said so many things.
Okay, so my question was the word jinn appears in
Yeah.
Rig Veda,
Mm-hmm.
the oldest text of the world, and all the 24
They were
Tirthankars,
Kshatriyas.
Kshatriyas. So their education was in Vedas and the Upanishads. So obviously Jainism has taken a lot from Hinduism. But did any of the 24 Tirthankars ever say that we are establishing a different religion altogether? Like Buddha never said that I'm establishing a new religion. It was only later, 500 years later, he says in Tripitaks, that
It's a large. It's a long.
Rishabh Dev also.
No
the
seer,
Vedas.
no seer ever said that I am establishing a religion.
Exactly.
Christ did not say that.
Right.
Muhammad did not say.
Right.
It is therefore immaterial, that question. So other questions you can give.
Yeah. So now there is a little. I guess what Jains like to say is that it's a beautiful metaphor. I think that they say that India has seen these two parallel streams since time immemorial, time infinite. One is the Vedic tradition. The other, they say, is the Shraman tradition. Shraman tradition. Shraman tradition. Shraman is what gave us the English term shaman or shaman. Shaman are now connected with indigenous traditions, communities across the world, Siberia and Africa and North America, everywhere. So, so this Shaman and Vedic traditions are two parallel streams. Of course, they give and take a lot, but definitely no Jain would accept, speaking from practitioner's perspective, Jain practitioners will say that this is an indigenous, innovative tradition that has been running parallel to Vedic tradition, with of course give and take, but it would be a little injustifiable if we say that only one has taken from the other, if I may say so.
Asceticism has come from, shamanic traditions.
Yeah.
In Vedas,
Heavy
there was
emphasis.
no asceticism.
Yes.
The rishis were all married and
Yes.
living in ashram
Yes.
with their wives and having children.
Yes.
So all are
Yes.
interrelated.
Yes.
Sir.
Sir.
Yeah.
There's your presentation. My question is here that to also talk about the karma. My question is here, what is the concept of
Concept of
Fate and luck.
fate and luck. Okay. Yeah. If we want to be really true to the spirit of Jain philosophy, there would be no fate or luck or astrology or planets' influence on our actions. It's only our own karmic footprint that decide our next punarjanam, next janam. Punarjanam is very much there in Jainism, but everything is decided by our karma, our carbon footprint and our karmic footprint. That decides our journey going forward and even our present.
Same in Hinduism.
Same in
Karma and fate are the two aspects of the same.
Yes.
Yeah, please. Sir,
Kar-
please. Sir. Yeah. Yeah, please, sir. Yes, sir.
प्रोफेसर पंकज जैन
Yeah.
आपको बधाई देते हैं
बहुत बढ़िया।
आपकी बहुत इम्प्रेसिव लेक्चर के लिए, क्योंकि आपने अमेरिका में रहे हैं, अंग्रेजी पर भी उतनी कमांड और राजस्थान से हिंदी प्रदेश के बिलोंग करते हैं, हिंदी पर भी उतने ही कमांड। और जो चूंकि आप ओरिजिनली जैन हैं, इसलिए हम लोगों को भी
माइक्रोफोन ऑन करिए सर।
अच्छा, इसलिए जैन धर्म को आपने लिया, जैन दर्शन को लिया, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ सनातन धर्म में, हिंदू धर्म में या हिंदू दर्शन में आस्तिक दर्शन और नास्तिक दर्शन दो भागों में बांटा गया। और नास्तिक दर्शन में ये तीन कट्टर नास्तिक हैं, कट्टर तो नहीं है, बौद्ध दर्शन, जैन दर्शन, कट्टर है चारवाक दर्शन।
जी
और तो ये जो जैन दर्शन, और उसमें भी आपने मॉडर्न लिया हुआ है ना, क्योंकि पूरा ट्रेडिशनल तो आपने सब बताया है कि कितने वो ट्रेडिशनल है। और हम तो इनसे भी मिले, हमारे उज्जैन में आए थे सुशील कुमार मुनि, ये बड़े रिवोल्यूशनरी थे, वो तो हवाई जहाज पे भी चलते थे,
बिल्कुल विद्रोही संत
बहुत चेंज किया है। तो हम क्योंकि आप अमेरिका में भी रहे हैं विदेश में, और हम तो आपका स्वागत करते हैं भारत में, तो वहाँ तो डॉलर्स के बीच में आप बने होते। यहाँ तो जैन लोग भी सबसे ज्यादा पैसे वाले माने जाते हैं। हमारे यहाँ प्रधानमंत्री वही बनता है जैन जैन लोग जिसको सबसे ज्यादा पैसे देते हैं। परंतु ये आप देखिए कि जैन जो हमने देखा है हमारे यहाँ भी, हमारी 2-3 स्टूडेंट्स भी, छोटी छोटी बच्चियां 16 साल की 24 साल की, वो उन्होंने ये संन्यास लिया। और ये हमने देखे हैं, उनको मुश्किल से देखा गया है। ये लुंचन होता है, क्या बाल नोचते हैं, ये करते हैं।
बिल्कुल
तो ये, और 2 जैन साध्वी ने भी हमारे साथ पीएचडी किया हिंदी में। उनसे भी हमने पूछा कि आप क्यों साध्वी बन गए, टीचर थी। उन्होंने कहा हम 5-6 सिस्टर थे, कोई ज्यादा हमारे पास वो साधन नहीं थे, तो फिर इसमें आ गए। तो कितने लोग हैं जो अपनी इच्छा से, हमारे यहाँ जो सनातन धर्म में व्यवस्था है वो पहले 25 वर्ष तक ब्रह्मचर्य
आश्रम,
फिर
गृहस्थ आश्रम,
फिर वानप्रस्थ आश्रम, फिर लास्ट में है संन्यास।
यहाँ पहले
और वो ही आपने हर चीज का, बहुत सारी चीजों में कहा कि विलोम किया हुआ। तो ये क्या सचमुच में व्यवहारिक है कि एकदम, मतलब अभी अभी हम आए वहाँ उज्जैन, तो 10 दिन पहले एक छोटी सी बच्ची ने, बिल्कुल 5 या 6 साल की रही होगी, अब वो क्या जाने, कभी अब जब यंग होगी तब उसे फिर मालूम पड़ेगा। और 1-2 आदमियों को तो हम लोग पढ़ाने जाते थे, हमारे मित्र लोग थे, इसी मेंबर बोले था वहाँ जाइए, तो टीचर थे, प्रणाम करती थी, पर बिल्कुल कहीं भी टच ना हो पाए। तो इतना इतना दूर हम लोग बैठते थे और
संन्यास का पालन बहुत कड़ाई से,
बहुत स्ट्रिक्टली। तो जो व्यवहारिक दृष्टि से उसमें कितना चेंज आना चाहिए
जी।
तो ये एक, तो ये क्या अच्छी है प्रोसेस कि छोटे छोटे बच्चियों को क्या जबरदस्ती करवाया जाता है?
उसमें ऐसा है सर, उसमें सर ऐसा है कि जैन और हिंदू भी इससे मानेंगे कि हमारी जो जीवन यात्रा जो प्रारंभ हुई है वो हमारे शारीरिक जन्म से प्रारंभ नहीं हुई ना सर। हमारा जो कर्मों का संचय पिछले जन्मों में था, हमने शायद उतनी उच्चता पाली थी पिछले जन्म में कि अब इस बार हमने जन्म लेते ही सीधा संन्यास ले लिया। वो हमारी यात्रा वहां से
हमारे
अनंत यात्रा
हिंदू धर्म
ऐसा
तो इसको ही मानते हैं कि सचिन तेंदुलकर को इसी जन्म के
हाँ,
बन गया।
बिल्कुल। जब सचिन तेंदुलकर 16 साल की उम्र में पाकिस्तानी बॉलर्स के छक्के छुड़ा सकता है, संन्यास।
ये बताइए कि आपकी ये आम जनता,
Well said, sir. Well said. Well done. Well done. It's very, very good,
क्वेश्चन और
Yeah, please.
हम जब वहाँ देखते हैं अभी महाकाल मंदिर पर, वैष्णो देवी पर लाखों की भीड़ रहती है।
Yeah.
इतने कितने जैन मंदिर
Yeah,
हैं
yeah.
जहाँ बहुत ज्यादा भीड़ रहती है, तो ये इसकी पॉपुलैरिटी क्यों नहीं होता?
हाँ, क्योंकि हम जैसे सेमिनार के शुरू में हम बात कर रहे थे कि
Please, sir. Please.
गुरु जी के प्रश्न से ही जुड़ा हुआ प्रश्न है।
जानकारी हमारी
No, no, here. Please wait. Please wait. Please wait. Please.
एक के बाद एक।
Please. Please. Yeah. He wants to make some.
थैंक यू सर। आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन सच में ही जैन धर्म के बारे में बहुत सी बातें जानने को मिली। मेरा एक प्रश्न है, जैसे आपने जैन धर्म की कॉस्मोलॉजी के बारे में डिफाइन किया, उसमें आपने जितना भी जैनिज्म का आइडिया दिया अबाउट द कॉस्मोलॉजी, इट इज वेरी मच सिमिलर टू द हिंदू या वैदिक सिस्टम। और लेकिन बार बार आपने कहा कि ये ब्रह्म वाला नहीं है। एक्चुअली मुझे तो लगता है कि पूरी दुनिया में सिर्फ 2 ही सिस्टम है अबाउट द क्रिएशन। एक तो है जो ब्रह्म, मतलब क्रिएटर है ही नहीं। ब्रह्म का मीनिंग ये है कि क्रिएटर नहीं है, क्रिएशन ही क्रिएटर है, ये साइक्लिक है। और दूसरा है कि क्रिएटर है जो अब्राहमिक है। 2 ही ट्रेडिशन है जहाँ से ये सारी फिलॉसफी निकलती है। इसीलिए हिंदू, जैन, बुद्धिस्ट और सिख, ये सारे धर्मा ट्रेडिशन में आते हैं, ये कैटेगरी ही अलग है। तो इसलिए मुझे उसमें कंफ्यूजन लगी जब आपने 2-3 बार कहा कि ये ब्रह्म का नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं है। नथिंगनेस अबाउट द क्रिएटर इज ब्रह्म बेसिकली, तो यही एग्जिस्ट करता है। तो मुझे लगता है वो सिमिलर है डेफिनेटली। जो बुद्धिज्म, जैनिज्म और इवन सिखिज्म में जो डिफरेंस है, जो सनातन ट्रेडिशन का, वैदिक का, वो डिफरेंस है सोशियोलॉजी का, कॉस्मोलॉजी का नहीं। कॉस्मोलॉजी इज रिजॉल्व कि वो अब्राहमिक नहीं है, ब्राह्मिक है। उसमें उसकी इंटरप्रिटेशन कैसे होगी, जीव और जगत का रिलेशन कैसा होगा, उसमें कैसे आपने जीना है, ये एक जो टीचिंग है जैनिज्म की अलग है, बुद्धिज्म की अलग है और सिखिज्म की डिफरेंट है। मुझे लगता है कहीं, क्योंकि हजारों साल का इतिहास है, ये आपस में मर्ज होते गए, क्योंकि ये इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रैक्टिसेस ही थी बेसिकली। सबसे ज्यादा अगर गहन इसको अध्ययन माने तो वो मर्ज हो गई। तो इसीलिए अगर वेगन की बात करते हैं तो कई बार आप रूट्स नहीं ढूंढ सकते कि ये जैनिज्म से हो सकते हैं या कहाँ से आएंगे। एक्चुअली ये हमारी सनातन धर्म की परंपरा में ही सारा, मुझे लगता है ये चारों धर्म परंपराएं जो उसमें से चलती हैं। एक छोटा सा सवाल और था कि उस डायग्राम में जहां पर आपने कहा कि सोल या आत्म जो है वो निकल जाता, मतलब समाप्त हो जाता है उसमें, वो उस पार्ट को साउथ क्यों डिपिक्ट किया गया?
हाँ, वो डायरेक्शन दिखाई है, यूनिवर्स की डायरेक्शन दिखाई, तो साउथ उसको माना है, विच इज लाइक काउंटर इंट्यूटिव। सर ऐसा है, जैसे अब ये ग्लास है, अब ग्लास का एग्जाम उदाहरण लेते हैं। इस ग्लास को अगर हम पूरा भर दें और कंप्लीटली ट्रांसपेरेंट अगर ग्लास है, ठीक है, और बहुत दूर से अगर देखें तो एक दृष्टिकोण ये हो सकता है कि ग्लास पूरा भरा हुआ है, ठीक है, पानी पूरा भरा हुआ है इसमें। एक दृष्टिकोण ये हो सकता है कि ग्लास पूरी तरह खाली है, कि इतनी दूर से पता ही नहीं लग रहा कि ग्लास भरा है या खाली। जिसने ग्लास को पूरा भरा हुआ माना वो हो गया ब्रह्म वाला सिद्धांत, अद्वैत। जिसने ग्लास को पूरी तरह खाली माना वो हो गया बुद्ध, जिसने शून्यता को माना। जैनों ने कहा न न पूरा भरा है ना पूरा खाली, एक ग्लास को क्यों मानूं मैं, अनंत ग्लास है सृष्टि में। ये जैनों ने माना।
कॉन्सेप्ट है ना, इट्स अबाउट द क्रिएटर।
नहीं सर, ऐसा नहीं है।
नहीं है ना।
देखिए सर, आप, आई थिंक देयर इज अनदर कंफ्यूजन यू हैव।
No.
है ही नहीं वाला कि
God is different.
Vandana, these discussions.
हाँ, बड़े
Because
बातें
not
करेंगे,
that, not that
will continue.
we are small individuals. We
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
any intuitive or realizational
We
experience,
can only touch, scratch the surface.
insight into these phenomena. Therefore,
थोड़ा
you
अलग।
want such issues,
हाँ.
Brahman, this and
Yeah.
that, going beyond
बात करें, हाँ.
a point is
We'll take more,
immaterial
I think.
because we don't know anything.
Sir, madam.
Yeah, please, yeah. Yeah.
On the one hand, there's question with the present reference. On the one hand, then people, they do accumulation of wealth on the one hand, and on the other hand, there is concept of tyag,
Yeah.
sanyam, and that is your sanya. These two extremes, how they follow these two, on the one hand, accumulation of wealth.
बिल्कुल। In one academic estimation, I saw this reference that, which may be completely incorrect, I don't know, and I have not verified, but they say that apparently half of India's income tax comes from Jain community. This may be untrue, but there's just a rough estimate. Very wealthy, extremely wealthy, right? Right, and yet the ideal is to renounce everything, right? So very healthy tension, it's a healthy tension, healthy dichotomy.
It is not religious issue, it is there
It's
in all
sociological
communities.
thing, yeah. Yes.
Sir,
They will say one thing, do
Sir,
another.
Also.
Like sociological, at a particular point of
Yes.
time, they will
Yes.
feel that I don't
Yes.
need these
Now,
things.
yeah, to
At a
renounce.
particular point of evolution, enhancement, an individual's enhancement, it may feel. That also is an
छोटी छोटी टिप्पणियां हैं। एक तो आपने कहा कि राजचंद्र जी गांधी जी के गुरु थे तो गुरु नहीं था, गांधी ने गुरु किसी को माना नहीं। जरूर 27 सवाल उन्होंने पूछा था, 27 सवाल के साथ में उत्तर दिया और किताब तब दिया था, पढ़ा था उन्होंने, उससे प्रभावित थे, पर उनको जीवन में अपना कोई गुरु नहीं मिला। तो आपके भाषण का जो प्रथम हिस्सा था बड़ा बढ़िया था, मैंने ट्विटर पर भी आपको पहले भी सुन रखा है, खासतौर से जो कार्बन फुटप्रिंट के बारे में आपने कहा।
कई बार कहता हूँ मैं
कि प्राय आप कहते रहते हैं, अक्सर अपने भाषण में कहते रहते हैं। और दो जो आपने उदाहरण दिया कि भारत एक जगह नीचे है, एक जगह ऊपर है, कहीं कोई एक डेटा कर रहा है कि नहीं बहुत सारा नीचे है, कहीं डेटा कर रहा है कि ऊपर है। व्यवहारिक जगह पर मैं देखता हूँ, मैं अपने गांव से जुड़ा हूँ और जहाँ से मैंने पढ़ाई की है BHU से, बनारस से, तो बगीचे वगैरह सब खत्म हो गए, करीब खत्म हो गए। बनारस शहर में आप देखें तो 100-150 पेड़ मिल जाए पूरे शहर में, तो बड़ा मुश्किल है। मुझे नहीं लगता है कि वहाँ का कार्बन फुटप्रिंट तो गड़बड़ हुआ ही होगा, पक्का है। BHU में मल्टी स्टोरी बन रही है तो कार्बन फुट गड़बड़ हुआ है, तो हम कैसे ऊपर जा रहे हैं ये हमको व्यवहारिक रूप से मुझे लगता है कि ठीक बात नहीं है। फिर आपने कहा कि सेंट्रल एसी और हीटर जो है वो लोग करते थे पश्चात जगत वाले, और इसलिए वो ज्यादा नुकसान करते थे। हम भी जो ही पैसा पा रहे हैं ये सारी चीजें
कर रहे हैं, हम भी
जो
कर
कर रहे हैं। मुझे लगता है कि ये बातें भी बहुत समसामयिक नहीं है, कोई मतलब नहीं है इसका।
ठीक है।
तीसरा है कि मेकर्स ऑफ मॉडर्न इंडिया, मेकर्स ऑफ मॉडर्न जैनिज्म आपका शीर्षक है, और एक किताब का आपने क्रिस्टोफर की शक्ल का, हालांकि उन लोगों ने सभी धर्मों को लेकर के किताब पब्लिश की है और बड़ी अच्छा, बहुत ही अच्छा काम किया है। और एक किसी जैन संत का आपने दिया कि उन्होंने अपनी एक्टिविज्म के जरिए जैन धर्म को एक माइनॉरिटी धर्म में अलग करा लिया। तो मेकर्स ऑफ मॉडर्न जैनिज्म में क्या ये योगदान है? दूसरा, अगर मेकर्स ऑफ मॉडर्न हिंदुइज्म अगर एक टॉपिक रहता, तो जो 18वीं और 19वीं सदी से जो लेकर गांधी तक मामला आता है, चाहे राधा कांत देव हो, रविन्द्रनाथ ठाकुर हो, ईश्वरचंद्र विद्यासागर हो, विवेकानंद हो, मुस्लिम हो, एक प्रकार का ये है मेकर्स ऑफ मॉडर्न हिंदुइज्म। और एक तरफ आपका है कि मुझे जो लगा, एक तो सर्वभौम सुखिया की तरह कोई भी अच्छी बात कर सकता है, एक योगदान दिखा कि उन्होंने जैनिज्म को अलग करा है। तो ये बात मेरी समझ में नहीं आई कि मॉडर्न जैनिज्म में, जैसे जो एंशिएंट का जैनिज्म है उससे मॉडर्न जैनिज्म कितना डिफरेंट है, उसने कितना प्लस किया है। जैसे गांधी जी जब आश्रम में थे, एक बछड़ा उनके यहाँ बीमार पड़ा और असाध्य रोग से पीड़ित था, सारे जैनी लोग जो है हो हल्ला मचाने लगे, लेकिन गांधी जी ने कहा कि नहीं, क्योंकि असाध्य रोग से पीड़ित है, वो ठीक नहीं हो सकता, असाध्य कठिनाई हो रही है उसको, तो उसको इंजेक्शन देकर के मारा जा सकता है। तो वह भी एक तरफ है, तो उधर भी मॉडर्न जैनिज्म के लोगों ने कुछ किया या नहीं किया। दूसरा एक बड़ा शानदार उदाहरण है कि ये नौकरी करते हैं, ये लोग नहीं करेंगे। तो बैल खेती करे या किसान खेती करे तो केचुआ मरे तो वो हिंसा है।
So please, valid questions, you put valid questions, please. So many, no, no, no. Precisely, you please put forward what you want to know,
तो
please.
तो यही जानना है कि मेकर्स ऑफ मॉडर्न ये लोगों ने क्या योगदान दिया है। एक तो जाने, देखिए मैं कुछ जाने नहीं, मैं टिप्पणी कर रहा हूँ, मैं उनसे
That outside the hall you can talk. Outside the
बात
hall.
बात करते हैं और बात करें।
Bagar you can talk. Please.
मॉडर्न हिंदुइज्म होते हैं और मेकर्स ऑफ मॉडर्न जैनिज्म, इन दोनों में आप कहाँ से अंतर पाते हैं?
ठीक है, बहुत
एक तरफ अपने परंपरा, एक दूसरे
Okay, okay, okay. It's
बाद में करते हैं।
Yeah.
और
So,
मैं व्यवहारिक पूछ लूं?
yeah, please.
आपने जो दिगंबर में वासी की भी आपने कहा कि बाहर, ये तीनों अहमदाबाद में मैंने बहुत नजदीक से देखी। आपने जो अमेरिका में कहा कि श्वेतांबर दिगंबर दोनों वहाँ एक साथ मिलके और इसको आगे बढ़ाए हैं, लेकिन मैंने एक और ऑब्जर्वेशन है मेरा कि जब वो इंडिया आते हैं और विशेष रूप से अहमदाबाद में, तो वो श्वेतांबर और दिगंबर हो जाते हैं।
वो तो होंगे
है ना?
बिल्कुल।
तो ये मैं ये चाहता था, पॉजिटिव में कोई वो नेगेटिव टिप्पणी नहीं है मेरी, ये था क्या वो वहां पर जो कर रहे हैं उसको यहाँ पर वो कुछ उसमें पॉजिटिव बात करते हैं कि
प्रयास जारी है, प्रयास चल रहा है।
हाँ।
प्रयास चल- जी
So, my question somehow is philosophical. The way you said Anekantwadi, and the name was given plurality of reality. In my own opinion, it's infinity of reality.
Yeah, definitely.
Because sometimes if you are saying that you cannot know the real state.
Yes.
So the problem with this philosophy is, and I think even Buddhism, that's why they would not go with Jainism, although they're almost same time in history. So the problem is that if you cannot know the reality in full, then what is the objective reality? Then how can you say there is Jew, there is Portugal, there is everything is happening? There is no result. Outcome is coming from any observation. So the real problem with the philosophy of Jainism, and if you cannot address this issue at that level of scientifically arguable, I don't think that there is any reason, whatever you are telling about the book makers and what they are telling.
Right. So if I can address that, that's a, I think, valid question. So a Tirthankar or a Jain is born as a householder. Most of them are all Kshatriyas. Many of them are even married and then they renounce, right? सो गृहस्थ से फिर दीक्षित होते हैं, सन्यासी बनते हैं। सन्यासी के बाद उनको कैवल्य ज्ञान प्राप्त होता है। कैवल्य ज्ञान से प्राप्त होता है, दैट इज इन इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेटेड एज ऑमनिशियंस। कैवल्य ज्ञान जब मिला, उसके बाद जब शरीर छोड़ेंगे वो, लेट्स से महावीर ने दिवाली के दिन शरीर छोड़ा, तब उनका अल्टीमेट मोक्ष हुआ। मोक्ष और कैवल्य ज्ञान के बीच का जो 30 या 40 साल का जो अंतर है, वो 30-40 साल वो सर्वज्ञ के रूप में बिताते हैं। सर्वज्ञ जब कब बने, ऑमनिशिएंट कब बनेगा? कोई गृहस्थ पहले सन्यासी बनेगा, फिर सर्वज्ञ बनेगा, फिर मोक्ष प्राप्त होगा उसको। ये जैन धर्म का ये सीढ़ियां हैं। सर्वज्ञता में ये माना जाता है, एज एन ऑमनिशिएंट you can combine all the infinite perspectives and you become Trikaldarshi. You can see past, present and future of every being in the universe. हर आत्मा का भूतकाल, वर्तमान काल और भविष्य आपको दिखेगा। तो उस समय आप सर्वज्ञ बन जाओगे। उस समय आपको वास्तविकता हर आत्मा की उसकी संपूर्णता में आपको दिखाई देती है। तो omniscients can realize the full knowledge of every being in the universe. That is what the final reality is.
In that sense, you can say somebody is in Swarg or somebody is in
Yes, everybody is known to the Sarvaki. Yes, yes.
But sir, knowing past, present and future,
आपसे बात भी करते हैं वहाँ।
nature of reality is different.
Okay. Any other?
Sir, surface.
It's like not a question. So maybe you are talking about manuscript. So in Delhi में sir Hogilal Laharchand Institute of Indore है जिन्होंने मतलब rich collection है
Yes,
पास manuscript का, even they practice also sir the Jain tradition.
Yes.
और एक चीज है सर, जैसे हम लोग अहिंसा के जो जैनिज्म बात करते हैं, करना इजी है, मानसिक जो हिंसा है उसको ज्यादा उसमें ध्यान देना चाहिए सबको। तो सर इसमें सर आप क्या सोचते हैं कि मतलब इसमें कुछ और प्रैक्टिसेस है या फिर?
हाँ बिल्कुल है। सो कायिक हिंसा, फिजिकल वायलेंस, वाचिक हिंसा, वोकल वायलेंस, वर्बल वायलेंस एंड मानसिक हिंसा, मेंटल वायलेंस। तो इन तीनों के शमन के लिए हर जैन का ये कर्तव्य है। एवरी जैन इज सपोज टू आस्क फॉर फॉरगिवनेस ट्वाइस अ डे।
केवल जैन का नहीं, हमारे यहाँ
जैनों का बता रहा हूँ सर मैं, पहले
ब्राह्मण का एक कर्तव्य है।
वो हाँ
ये मत कहिए कि
तो जैन करते हैं आज भी। आज एवरी इवनिंग 7 बजे शाम को दे डू दिस रिचुअल कॉल्ड प्रतिक्रमण।
प्रैक्टिकली क्या फॉलो
नहीं करते हैं।
जैसे प्रैक्टिस एक जैसे बैठ के एक उपासना टाइप की
हाँ,
अलग बात है,
हाँ।
पर जब वही इंसान कोई शॉप में है एज ए बिजनेसमैन या फिर एज ए हाउस होल्डर, क्या तब वो इतना फॉलो
वो तो
ये
सबका
हिंदू कितना फॉलो करते हैं ना, ये पहले अपने
कौन कितना फॉलो करता है।
पॉइंट, ये तो ठीक है दीदा। अब अपना नेचर कैसा है, हिंदू को कहा गया कि तुम भी अहिंसा करो, मगर हस्बैंड वाइफ की लड़ाई हो जाती है बहुत, है ना, सब कुछ
बहुत लंबी आती है।
See, my precise question, precise.
Any concept of atonement?
अभी मैं वही बताने वाला था। प्रतिक्रमण इज द प्रोसेस। प्रतिक्रमण इज द नेम ऑफ द रिचुअल इन प्राकृत लैंग्वेज, आल्सो संस्कृत, which is done by every Jain twice a day, in which atonement is sought from every being in the universe. Knowingly or unknowingly, any violence, physical, verbal or mental, is to be asked for. Forgiveness is to be asked for that.
Atonement, can we get moksha?
You should practice it. You should practice it.
Itna
Then
easy.
you can realize. Sir, your turn. He wants.
he is actually the last always.
Really?
So with this, yeah,
If last
with
then
this,
Shankar
yeah.
sir is there.
he is always the last.
Eh?
So I am the last, but I am not the lost.
Yeah, so his are the last words. With the shairi, he'll conclude.
Okay, yeah.
Let all
If,
other pass.
or if you don't have any other, question or queries, it will pass on to our most respected Harpal.
Yes.
So, Ganesh ji, you want to? Anju? Please.
The concept of death that you said, are there references that change?
Representation of death.
Concept of death.
Yeah, so concept of death is very similar to other Indian tradition, that death is just a temporary pause. Your body changes, right? Your ultimate death is the death of the soul. That will happen when you get moksha. From Jain perspective, you get moksha in the final abode, final frontier of the universe. In Advaita tradition of Hinduism, you realize your Brahman. That's the ultimate. That's the art of dying, right? To attain moksha. Death is a temporary consciousness.
Okay, sir.
I'm aware of the fact that the audience is getting restless, and a member has already, not this, for that, a member has already left at being her question being treated so shabbily by the speaker. Therefore, I won't test your patience anymore. Just my observation is 2-3 minutes. First is that Professor Jain should be appreciated that he laid before us threadbare what Jain philosophy or Jainism essentially is. I don't think that many of us who are aware of it in this detail in which he has dealt with the subject. And the next is that all the prophets, all the great men, they were not only men of conviction, they had the courage of conviction as well. And they had their own ways and means through which they perceived the reality of the universe, making human being as the central focus. I feel that our discussion should never be centered around this fact that what is the conviction of your prophet is it militates against the philosophy of my prophet. We need to appreciate, after all these are flaws. The Indian civilization, it is like a bouquet in which various flowers have blossomed, and Jainism is one beautiful flower. Last one or yes, one member among the audience was surprised that how it can happen that a person rolling in wealth suddenly decides to renounce it. Yes, there's no contradiction between it. Tyag is the real test of human elevation. It is the religious training. They have imbibed, these persons have imbibed the religion in the true spirit. A person wielding a sword refuses to take another's life. This is the great test, not the violence. Similarly, a people rolling in wealth suddenly says, I must taste the fruit of renouncing it. As Guru Tegh Bahadur has said, Kanchan Matti Man. This is the real test of man. He treats the gold as mere dust. And this is what Jainism has practically taught us. And most of our problems, I think, will be reduced if they don't come to end. If even during the 65 Pakistan war, Lal Bahadur Shastri has told us that you do away with one-time food. That is your test. And we are not used to make sacrifices. About Murti Puja in Arya Samaj, I don't. Last thing. Last thing is, when the West says, suddenly awakens to the fact that India has become environmentally sensitive. It does not mean that we have gone green overnight. At least India has become aware. I think the great one may, there may be many persons who may mock at it. The great campaign of the government, or which goes under the name of Prime Minister, the Swachh Bharat, we have become conscious. Before throwing away a piece of paper, we look for the nearest dustbin. This is, we have awakened. And Europe, no doubt, Europe creates great, large number of disposables, but they are aware that we have to treat it also. But in India, we create disposables only to dump them into our rivers, and beyond Ludhiana, the water of Satluj just cannot be drunk. It cannot be taken, you will die. Therefore, introducing a great religion of India is the greatest, I think, compliment which Professor Jain and I. One, because सर ने बोला कि मेरी बात शायरी के बिना complete नहीं होती. And that sheer flows from a question from a member who has said, how it's possible that a person rolling in wealth can suddenly renounce it? In fact, when we don't understand the nuances of a philosophy, only then we raise. In fact, we people are possessive by nature. And when a people is so possessive, he or she transports her mind even on the practitioners of Jain. About this, Mirza Ghalib has a couplet in which he says that, oh God, I am sure that whatever he say is not going to be understood by the person to whom I am addressing. I can only pray that either give me a kind of speech with which I can convince him or her, or change his or her mind altogether, that it becomes receptive to the truth. यार अब वो न समझे हैं न समझेंगे मेरी बात, दे और दिल उनको जो न दे मुझको जुबां और. Thank you.
Wow, some just me.
Hey, clap for.
Yeah. Already we clapped for him. Yeah.
And
So,
my apologies if I did not give full answer. We are all here. We'll continue the dialogue.
Yeah.
That is the whole
It's
idea. Right? So we'll discuss.
There is never a full answer.
Yes.
If we can answer anything fully,
Then-
that will be the end of knowledge.
Yeah.
never ending.
And the end of quest.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
मेरी वजह से क्यों? अब अपनी वजह से तो आप नहीं है तो मेरी वजह से
Thank you.
It is.
No, that is yeah.
So this is second report. Yes, first class. Which market? I got to be now. No, there are several markets.